Na Svenja Baba Beach Whatever It's finally here. Hey guys, Lytane here, and thank you so much for checking out this video. And if you haven't guessed yet, this week on July month, I'll be having a look at the brand new Lion King movie that just came out, comparing it to the original and seeing if it is worth it. July month. The Lion King remake was released in July 2019, and it follows the exact same story as the original Lion King. We have a lion cub named Simba born into the Pride Lands to his father Mufasa. Little does he know that his uncle Scar wants the throne, so he will do anything he can in order to achieve his goals. That includes getting young Simba into various points of danger and trying to kill him and his father. What a jerk. But honestly, if you're watching this review, you probably have seen the original Lion King, so I don't really need to go into much detail about the story. As this is a live action, I don't really know if you could call it that because it's all CGI version of a Disney movie. There's no way I can't help but compare it to the original movie, so I'm going to be doing a lot of that throughout the review here. Let's start off with the story structure. The entire story is pretty much the same. There are a couple little changes and a couple little add-ons and a couple little things that have been moved or gotten rid of in order to make the story flow a little bit better in certain areas. And that's about it. Pretty much the exact same story is told to you, just with the live action cast instead of the cartoon cast. One little change that I did like is an inclusion of a line which tells you why Scar is still around despite him being totally evil. It's just Mufasa saying, look, he's my brother and this is his home, so he has a right to be here, and until he steps out of line and we can prove it, then, you know, we just have to put up with his evilness for a while, which I like. It just gives that tiny little reason. It's a nice little addition to the movie. But not all of the little additions landed home, at least for me. So one change that they did was the Be Prepared song, which happens just after that graveyard scene. And it started off okay, it's new lyrics for the verse, and that's fine. But then when it got to the pre-chorus and the actual chorus, the actor just did not do a very good job with the song. It just kind of, it's like, okay, this is interesting, no, you're doing this really bad. And then by the end, when he like belts out the Be Prepared, it comes back a little bit and you're like, oh, that's okay. But I just thought, like, out of all of the songs that they remade for this film, that was probably the worst one. And it was just like, if you weren't going to really do it, why half-ass it? Just get rid of it or do it like properly. Don't do this middle ground, it's not very good. Speaking of the songs, the new versions are pretty good. I enjoyed the new version of Circle of Life, and I enjoyed the Can't Wait to Be King song. The scene around it had to be completely changed because the cartoon has this like strange dream sequence with all these crazy colors and stuff, and it's just showing off Disney's animation. Where here, they're actually running around the watering hole and stuff like that. I like it, it's a different take, it's fun, and it just shows them trying to get away from Zazu in a nice and fun way. And then we come with Can You Feel the Love Tonight, sung by Donald Glover and Beyonce Knowles. And in my opinion, Beyonce is a good singer, she's great, but she over-sings all the time. If you give her a song, she's gonna go, that's a perfect Beyonce representation. Yeah, she oversins, and that's fine, and you know, when she's doing her own songs and stuff, it's great. But when she was doing Can You Feel the Love Tonight, oh man, she was so dull in the song. So there's a part where it's like Simba sings his inner line, and then Nala will sing her inner line, and Simba's one, Donald Glover, nails it. He's good at as Simba, and he's good as the singing voice. But then when it cuts to Beyonce, she's like trying to oversing, but holding it back. So she's like, he's holding back, he's hiding. Like, she's like scared, and it's really bad. And I think she's just trying to put a new take on the song because you don't want to do the original exactly. But it just comes across really, really badly. And I think it might have been in the contract for Beyonce that they gave her an original song afterwards. I think it's called Spirit. She says Spirit like 20 times in the song, so I'm going to call the song Spirit, Probably should have done a bit more research. Anyways, when Simba is coming back to the Pride Lands after he decides to come back, there's a little song sung by Nala, which I thought was strange, because wouldn't Simba be singing that song if he's the one deciding? But regardless, she sings a song called Spirit, and she over-sings like crazy. It sounds good though, because, you know, Beyonce is a good singer. Don't get the flame wars happening in the comment section. And she sounds fine there. She sounds great. It was just like, I think that Disney said, okay, you're not allowed to oversing here, but you can go crazy in your own song. So she tried to hold it back. That's just my opinion anyway. I also thought they were going to go the Broadway route and put the song He Lives in You in the movie, because it's a really good song and it's really powerful in that scene. But they didn't. They didn't do it at all. In fact, He Lives in You is in the credits of the movie, and it's not even sung in English. It was sung in, I guess, Zulu, African, Swahili, one of those African languages, I'm not sure. And it was really weird, because I heard the music and I was like, oh, I love this song. And then when I go to sing along and I'm like, I'm singing English and he's singing the African, and I was like, oh, okay, that's really cool, but damn it, I can't sing along anymore. Another little change that they did was more of a role for Nala. Now, because they got Beyonce, I'm pretty sure they had to make their money's worth by giving her a few little extra scenes, and they're fine. They add a little bit to the character, they add a little bit to what's going on in the Pride Lands, because after Simba leaves and they have one speech with Scar, you do not see much in the Pride Lands until Simba comes back. So this is a nice way to check in on what's going on in the Pride Lands, showing like how bad it's going, as well as giving some extra scenes and lines to Beyonce, so that's fine. I like that little addition. And then we come around to the other change that they made, which was Shenzi, the lead hyena. By the way, I don't know why they did this, but all the hyenas look the same, but I'll get to that in a second. Shenzi is changed, where they've given her a bit more of an expanded role, and they make her out to be more of an antagonist to Nala, so I guess Nala has someone to fight. I don't know really why they did that. Shenzi looks like she's in charge of all the hyenas, but they don't really establish that. It's just a couple of weird little changes that make her single out more, but it doesn't actually add or do anything to the character that's significant enough. So they should have gone more, you know, should have lent into it more, or just not done it at all. Like I said, this is just one of those another half-assed things, just like be prepared. Another little nitpick, as I remember them, is how did Mufasa get to the elephant graveyard in this movie? In the original, the cubs and Zazu are there, and then the hyenas send Zazu away. That's when he finds Mufasa, and then Mufasa comes and saves the day. In this one, all three of them are there, Zazu, Simba, and Nala, and they're all running away from the hyenas, and then they get saved from Mufasa. How did he know they were there? Was he like patrolling and then he saw it, or what? I have no idea. It's one of those things that they removed from the movie that actually makes it make a little bit less sense. Don't know. They upgraded the oasis where Simba lives after he goes into hiding, and I think all of the changes there were pretty good for the most part. I like the interaction with the other animals, how they don't really trust him, how even though he's an outsider in the Outsiders, he's an outsider to them as well, and pretty much only Timon and Pumbaa really like him. I like the changes that they made surrounding the When the Lion Sleeps Tonight song as well. That was really cool. There was just like, that entire section I think was done really well. And then we come to one scene, and I'm not going to ruin this one actually, because this is like one of the funniest additions into the entire movie. There is a scene where Rafiki finds out about Simba still being alive. And if you've seen this movie, you'll know what I'm talking about, because that scene in the cartoon goes for like 20 seconds, something like that. It goes for a little bit longer in the live action. And me and my friends are sitting there, and my girlfriend and I are like looking at each other going, what? Why is this still going? Why is this happening? It's so silly. Oh my god, it just, it was one of those things that we just could not stop laughing at, and I don't know why. It was maybe just to pad out the runtime. I don't know. Oh man, it was really funny and really, really silly. It was probably the stupidest decision that they made. I don't know, maybe. It made me laugh so much, so maybe it was a good decision. So I've touched upon a lot of little things in the movie, but there's one thing in particular that I really need to address, which is the thing that pretty much broke the movie for me. There are no facial expressions on these animals. because it is so realistic, and don't get me wrong, it looks incredible. You could easily put a David Attenborough voice over the top of it and turn it into a nature documentary. That's how great this looks. But because it's so realistic, you lose part of the humanity that was in the cartoon. These lions don't have facial expressions, so when somebody is feeling angry, or somebody is feeling sad, or somebody is feeling happy, you can barely see it on them. Sometimes their eyebrows furrow a little bit, so they have a little bit of that human emotion, but for the most part, they just have this stone cold dead bitch face, because that's what lions have in real life. A lot of the time when Scar is talking or doing anything, he just has this one blank stare, and it's really off-putting, which is good for their character. But then when you come to Mufasa, and he's supposed to be the exact opposite, he still has that blank stare, and it's a little bit off-putting. Because of this, the emotionally impacted scenes, like when Mufasa dies and Simba going through his depression, are so much worse here, because you don't get that full extent of the emotion. It's all character driven in the dialogue and in the voice acting, and they try and do a good job, and don't get me wrong, they're trying hard, but you don't have that extra element of being able to see it. You don't see the sadness, you don't see the depression on Simba, and because of that, the entire thing just does not do what it's supposed to do. And this is like that through the whole movie. There are plenty of times where I couldn't tell lions apart. When Nala and Sarabi hug Simba at the end of the film, I don't know which one was which. When the tiger cubs are running around in Just Can't Wait to Be King, I couldn't tell which was which. They do have a slight color difference, and Simba has like these little triangle things on his eyes, so when they're close up I can tell the difference, but when they're far away, I had no idea. Same thing with the hyenas. There are a bunch more hyenas in this movie, and there are 3 main ones still, and Ed even gets a speaking role instead of just laughing, which is good. And when those two hyenas were on the screen, I could tell them apart, because one has a chopped off ear and one is slightly darker. And then when Shenzi pops up, then I can see her as a different one as well, because she has a slightly different hue and a slightly different face to her. But then when they are standing together with any other hyena, couldn't tell them apart. So when they were doing that big battle scene at the end, I'm like, I have no idea who is who. And until Shenzi, like, they actually made a point to stop on her and focus on her and show Shenzi, like, going, I'm going to attack you, pretty much. I had no idea. I didn't know if she was one of the random 20 or so hyenas that were killed before that. I have no idea. And even when the lions are fighting, aside from Simba, I couldn't tell the difference between any of the lionesses, so I'm like, I don't know if Nala's winning or if she's getting hurt or whatever, until they actually focus on her. This is a major problem in the film, and like, even certain scenes like the, after the elephant graveyard, when Simba is depressed and he tries to feel happy because Mufasa makes some jokes and makes him happy, the new additional lines there are fine, because I think they had to add them because the facial expressions aren't there. You can't see the transition from the sadness to the happiness, and because of that, you have to add extra lines in order to try and show that to an audience. This really lets the movie down, honestly. This one major sticking point really lets the movie down. The other thing that I really did not like is the different characterization of Rafiki. In the cartoon, he is this crazy shaman guy. He bounces around, he tells some funny jokes, and he just has a pretty fun demeanor to him. And in the live action, he's just a squat little monkey that doesn't really do much. Or baboon, I should say. I'm pretty sure he's a baboon. And he has no presence to him, and he doesn't do anything. His one major scene, which is when he's trying to show Simba who he really is changed, and it's changed for the worse as well. Some of the lines that they gave to Rafiki reflect on the fact that he is not as good at doing this. Like, one of the things that I really liked is when Simba's like, who are you? And he's just like, I know who I am. And it's just like, the question is, who are you? And Simba's like, I don't know who I am. And then Rafiki's like, I know. So, oh yeah, who? You're Mufasa's boy. And then he runs away. And then that's why Simba has to give him a chase. I like that line. It's just like, I know who you are. You're this person. And then in the remake, he says something like, I held you at the I held you on Pride Rock or something like that. Just showing that he knew Simba. Why would Simba care about that? It's not as impactful because all of his character-driven stuff is about Mufasa. And in here, that change of the line just degrades the character. In my opinion, I think that Lion King 2019 is not worth it. Like, we have the original cartoon, and the original cartoon is better in almost every way. And that's such a shame. Because the fact that this is so nice and so good looking, we have no emotion in the characters, and that is the main driving force of the film. Simba and his unhappiness, his depression, his going through all of these hard times is what really drives the movie, especially through that midpoint to the end. And because we don't get those facial expressions, that disconnect from the characters is there, and we don't get the full impact of what is happening to Simba and what is happening to, you know, the world around him. The little changes that they did make, I think, were nice, and I did like a lot of them, but some of them were just really bad. A lot of the Timon and Pumbaa jokes were changed, which makes sense to update them to a bit more modern. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, just like the original, so I can't complain too much there. But I just think that the movie is too similar to the original, and the original does it better. So there is no point to go and see this movie unless you really like a nature documentary. I expect one day somebody on the internet is going to do a David Attenborough impersonation and do it over the course of The Lion King, and it would probably be amazing. Yeah, maybe I should do that. Maybe that will get me all the big views. So guys, tell me what you thought about the new Lion King. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was too similar to the original, or did you think it was too different from the original? Tell me what your thoughts are below. I've looked it up online, and a lot of people have about a 50 to 55% of rating, I think, on Rotten Tomatoes, which means that most people were kind of in the middle when it comes to this movie. And I'm similar, maybe a little bit more to the don't watch it side, because the fact that that disconnect is there. But tell me what you thought. Oh, so tell me what you thought about that one scene that I alluded to, and if you thought it was funny, you know, the one scene where Rafiki finds out Simba's alive, and just tell me what you thought about that scene. Maybe I'm the only one that was laughing at it. Tell me please, because that was like the funniest part for me. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!